Okay, good morning. I want to dedicate the shiur, the refuah shlema of Dan Ben Esther. And we're going to read a chapter of Tehillim before we start the class. I just copied it to my phone, so it's easy. It's Mizmor Kuf Lamed 113. שיר המעלות ממעמקים קראתיך אדוני, אדוני שמעה בקולי תהיינה אוזניך קשובות לכל תחנוני. אם עוונות תשמוריה אדוני מי יעמוד, כי עמך סליחה למען תיברא. קיוויתי אדוני קיוותה נפשי ולדברו חלתי. נפשי לאדוני משומרים לבוקר, שומרים לבוקר. יחל ישראל אל אדוני, כי מאדוני החסד והרבה עמו פדות, והוא יפדה את ישראל מכל עוונותיו. מהקדוש ברוך הוא ישלח לו רפואה שלמה, he goes home back to his family and has arichut yamim, bebriut be'ezrat Hashem. Okay, so we have a very, very exciting parasha, very rich parasha, that while I was preparing it, I was kind of feeling like we need to read all of it. Everything is important. Everything is so beautiful. Who knows how is this Shabbat called? This Shabbat has a name. This Shabbat is called Shabbat Shirah. The Shabbat of the singing, of the song. Shirah. Shirah is a song. Why? Right, because after HaKadosh Baruch Hu made a great miracle and Am Yisrael were able to cross through the Yam Suf in dry land, Hashem opened the sea for them. Moshe and Am Yisrael, they sang a beautiful song of praise and gratefulness to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That's why this Shabbat is called Shabbat Shirah, the Shabbat of the song. And I remember my dad, Zichrono Livracha, he had this very, very special connection with the Torah. Like he lived it. Like whenever Yosef was in jail, my father would read the parasha and cry. Whenever he hugged with his brothers, he would get so emotional and feel it and cry. And I remember as a child, my father being excited for all the week. This Shabbat is Shabbat Shirah. He would feel the celebration of what's going to happen on this parasha. Okay, so again, we are on page, in our Chumashim, page 367, Parashat Beshalach. And if you remember, last week on Parashat Bo, the parasha, we saw all the makot and the makat bechorot and how Paro is sending Am Yisrael out of Egypt after the difficult punishment that he and all of Egypt received. And we get the mitzvot about Pesach. The parasha ended with Kadesh Likol Bechor, with the mitzvah of offering to Hashem the Bechorot. From there we have the Pidyon Bechorot for a firstborn child. And this parasha begins, Va'i Beshalach Paro et ha'am. Now whoever knows Hebrew, the Hebrew grammar, Beshalach, when he sent, is in PL, in the form of PL. I'm not going to explain all of that. There are 7 binyanim in Hebrew grammar, 7 conjugations of the verb. And here the lishloach is to send, but whenever it comes in this form of PL, is kind of to expel. Like Paro and his people, they just were so in such a critical state of mind after what they saw. Egypt is destroyed. All of Egypt's economy is destroyed. Our children are dying. Every family was mourning. Just leave, just leave. That's why Bnei Israel had to leave Egypt bechipazon, in a rush. That's why we have the matzot. They didn't have time to wait. They just needed to leave. And that's how they lived. So did the story end there? After the Mitzrim sent us away, it didn't end. They kind of regretted. So I will try today to read as much as I can. Let me just accept the people here. Okay. So let's read as much as we can because the story is just amazing. We know it, let's pay attention to the details. I'm starting, ויהי בשלח פרעה את העם. It happened when Paro sent out the people that Hashem did not lead them by way of the land of Palestine because it was near. For Hashem said, perhaps the people will reconsider when they see a war and they will return to Egypt. So Hashem turned the people toward the way of the wilderness to the Sea of the Reeds. The children of Israel were armed when they went up from Egypt. Moshe took the bonds of Yosef with him, for he had firmly adjured the children of Israel, saying, God will surely remember you, and you shall bring up my bonds from here with you. Few things that we see in the few first psukim. First, as I said, they were just pushed to leave. Second, imagine this is Egypt, right? Whoever remembers a little bit, Israel is here. Egypt is in the south of Israel. So the right or the easiest way to go would be just crossing the sea. Whenever I teach this in schools or midrashot, usually we bring a map and we see the route that they take. It doesn't make sense. Hashem doesn't take them straight forward. Hashem makes them go around. And as they're going around, they end up in a place called Pia Herod that was still part of Egypt. And imagine Paro had there people, soldiers to protect the borders. And then they see this group of slaves that just left Egypt, far from being already far away, they're kind of coming closer to Egypt again. So why is Hashem doing that? Hashem says, I'm not going to set them immediately to Israel, because when they come to Israel, as we know in the future, we will have to fight the nations living there. And these people are not ready to be soldiers, are not ready to fight. So I'm going to take a little bit of more time. But what Paro and his men see, look on Pasuk, and Hashem was afraid that we will regret, but what they say, where am I? Did I read that? I didn't read it yet. Sorry, it's later. Look on Pasuk 5 on page 369. Pasuk 3, Paro will say to the children of Israel, they are imprisoned in the land. The wilderness has locked them in. I shall strengthen the heart of Paro, and he will pursue them, and I will be glorified through Paro and his entire army. Hashem is saying, Paro is going to think that you are what? That you are lost. And then I'm going to make his heart again hardening, and then they're going to come after you again, and that's exactly what is happening. Now, I'm going to make you a little bit go back and forth. Look on Pasuk. This is a very important Pasuk. Pasuk Yutet. Vaikach Moshe 19 on page 367. Moshe took the bonds of Yosef with him. You remember that? Do you remember that when Yosef, before Yosef died, what he asked from his people? Do you remember? Yosef asked, take my bond. So that was like a tradition that stayed with them. And Am Israel did feel the gratitude to Yosef, and Moshe Rabbeinu is taking care of the bonds of Yosef to bring them with them, because they're going to leave Egypt and come to Eretz Israel. Today is very commonplace. People know in Shechem, Yosef is buried. Please mute yourself, girls, in the Zoom. Now, there is a beautiful midrash that says, because Moshe took care of the burial of Yosef, Hashem is taking care of the burial of Moshe. Where was Moshe buried? Does anybody know? So we don't know. Hashem took care of him. That's a beautiful thing. Let me just mute that. Okay. How are Bnei Israel living? How are Bnei Israel living? Look on Pasuk 21. Went before them by day in a pillar of cloud to lead them on the way, and by night in a pillar of fire to give them light so that they could travel day and night. He did not remove the pillar of cloud by day and the pillar of fire by night from before the people. So when we study this parasha, we need to try to be a Jew that just left Egypt. We were slaves for years. Perhaps my parents were slaves. My grandparents were slaves. I was a very insecure, without confidence person, always depending on what my master is going to tell me to do today, without knowing if I'm going to survive the day, how much they're going to hit me. Are my children going to be, I left my house in the morning. When I came at night, I didn't know who is still left there. It was really, really a very, very difficult, tough life. And now, okay, for a year, I've been already exposed to all these crazy miracles of Hashem. Makot, Egypt, my powerful masters are being hit once and again. And now we are out, but who is everybody following? We are all looking up at Moshe. Moshe is the one that is taking us. We are really, really very much depending on them, and we're still afraid. Now Hashem is making us go around. We don't exactly understand. It's the desert, but there is something that shows us the way all the time. Can you imagine? You're walking and there is a pillar. During the days, like a cloud that moves, and we see that we are following up the cloud. Wherever the cloud goes, we go. And at night, suddenly, it looks like a fire, and we are still following that. So it gives you a sense of security. This is something beyond nature. This is something that is happening, done by Hashem. So now, after they are there, and they are standing where Hashem tells them to stand on Pasuk Aleph and Bet, Hashem spoke to Moshe saying, speak to the children of Israel and let them turn back and encamp before Pi Hacherot, between Migdol and the sea, before Baal Zephon, you shall encamp opposite it by sea. And then as we said before, Paro will think that you are confused. I'm going to Pasuk 5. It was told to the king of Egypt that the people had fled, and the heart of Paro and his servants became transformed regarding the people, and they said, what is this that we have done, that we have sent away Israel from serving us? Why are they regretting it? They just lost all their servants. Who is going to make me coffee in the morning? Who is going to build my pyramid? Who is going to take care of my fields? Who is going to wash my floors? We were used that everything is done by our Jewish Hebrew servants, and we just let them go. Are we crazy? So now they go, Pasuk 6, it says here, Vayestor et richbo ve'et amo lakach imo. He harnessed his chariot and attracted his people with him. Who is he? That's Paro. So Paro by himself prepares his chariot. What does it mean? What does it say? For a king that has so many people working for him, he's the one to come and prepare his chariot. What does it mean? He's so much in a rush. He's so much enthusiastic about pursuing and coming after Bnei Israel that he doesn't even ask his servants, let's go. And also, when you see your leader so enthusiastic and so sure of himself, that makes others follow him. So Paro is doing that. And it says here how many people they took, 600 elite chariots and all the chariots of Egypt with officers on them all. Hashem strengthened the heart of Paro, king of Egypt, and he pursued the children of Israel, and the children of Israel were going out with an upraised arm. At this point, Bnei Israel were actually walking confidently. But at 9, what do we get here? It says here, Israel panics. Why? Egypt pursued them and overtook them, encamped by the sea. Israel, as we saw before, were encamping in a place that Hashem told them, okay, stop here. And suddenly, imagine you are sitting, you're eating your matzah, drinking your water, changing the diaper of the baby. We are just having a rest. Everything's out of Egypt, and your worst nightmare You suddenly see your masters, Paro, your enemies, everybody are back here. All the horses and chariots of Paro and his horsemen and army by Piacherot before Baal Zephon. Paro approached the children of Israel. Paro approached. The children of Israel raised their eyes and behold, Egypt was journeying after them, and they were very frightened. The children of Israel cried out to Hashem. Imagine everybody, oh no, they're going to kill us. They're again here. We thought we're done with Egypt. They said to Moshe, look at the sentence. Were there no graves in Egypt that you took us to die in the wilderness? What is this that you have done to us to take us out of Egypt? Is this not the statement that we made to you in Egypt saying, don't you remember what we told you at the beginning? Let us be, and we will serve Egypt. We just wanted to be left alone. Let us be, let us stay in Egypt and continue serving our masters. For it is better that we should serve Egypt, that we should die in the wilderness. That's what Bnei Israel are saying in this moment of desperation. What could they think? How could they imagine that they're going to be able to save themselves from the Egyptian masters coming again after them? Moshe said to the people, do not fear. Stand fast. How is in Hebrew? התייצבו וראו את ישועת השם אשר יעשה לכם היום, כי אשר ראיתם את מצרים היום לא תוסיפו לראותם עוד עד עולם. Moshe is telling them, do not fear. Stand fast and see the salvation of Hashem that he will perform for you today. For as you have seen Egypt today, you shall not see them ever again. Hashem shall make war for you and you shall remain silent. So Moshe is saying here, and this is the only time, this is very important to note, is the only time that Hashem is going to fight the war for us. The only time. You can look from here on in the whole Torah, in the whole Tanakh, every time we have an enemy, every time Israel is in a situation of risk, what do we have to do? We have to fight. And Yaakov Avinu taught us already before this very well when he was standing in front of his brother Esav with 400 men, and he was afraid for his life. What did Yaakov teach us? By now, everybody should know. Yaakov prepared himself in How did he prepare himself? Tefillah.
And then pointing.
Gifts and setting them. Okay, so Yaakov taught us, when you are in a situation of danger, doesn't matter what in your life. Of course, our emunah is in Hashem. We need to pray to Hashem. But Hashem is not going to do everything for you as happens here. Again, I'm saying only here. Hashem wants from you to act as well. So it's tefillah, and Yaakov prepared also when he gives the gift is diplomacy, and he divides his people is a strategy for war, for battle, for whatever. So we need to work in all these areas whenever we have a problem. You have a problem at home, with your family, with your husband, okay, everything. Do everything that you can. You have a problem with the law, best lawyer. Take care of finding the best resources that you have to solve your problem. But all of that has to come together with tefillah. But now, in this case, is an exceptional situation. We have to imagine ourselves that we are there as a slave that escaped Egypt. But also, if we think about Am Israel as a nation, Am Israel is a baby. It's a baby. We were just born. What do you do with the baby? The baby is absolutely incapable of taking care of himself. You don't expect anything. You don't expect the baby to listen to you, to go to the bathroom, to take the food when he's hungry. The baby just cries and we give him. Thirsty, give him water. Hungry, give him milk. Tired, put him to sleep. Everything is done by the parents. Here, Am Israel is a baby, and we're going to see that at the beginning of our journey. is taking care of our needs because we can still not take care of ourselves. So what happens now? Moshe is telling, don't worry, Hashem will fight for us. That's what Moshe thinks. But Hashem is telling Moshe, ויאמר השם אל משה, מה תצעק אליי? דבר אל בני ישראל וייסעו. Hashem is saying, why to Moshe? Why do you cry out to me? Speak to the children of Israel and let them journey forth. Hashem is kind of telling Moshe, yes, it's okay, I'm going to fight for them. But I need to see an action from them. They need to start walking, not just crying. Hashem is telling Moshe, yes, tefillah is important, but sometimes we cannot stay just on the tefillah, we need to act. Tell them to move, not just stand and cry. So, and he tells Moshe, and let them journey first, and you lift up your staff and stretch out your arm over the sea and split it. And the children of Israel shall come into the midst of the sea on dry land. And I, behold, I shall strengthen the heart of Egypt, and they will come after them. And I will be glorified through Paro and through his entire army, through his chariots and through his horsemen. Egypt will know that I am Hashem when I am glorified through Paro, his chariots and his horsemen. Hashem is telling Moshe, okay, you extend your arm, I'm going to open the sea, and I'm going to harden Paro's heart at the same time. Hashem is kind of telling to the ear of Moshe, I have a plan. It wasn't enough all what I did. I need Am Israel to see their masters, their enemies, drowning on the sea, dying, because I know that they are still with that fear from them. You know, last year I called the class of this shiur something like taking Egypt out of Israel. Like, because coming out of Egypt, okay, was easy. Hashem did it. Miracle here, miracle there, Makkah here, Makkah there. Take the Jews out of Egypt. But how do you take Egypt out of the minds of the Jews? We are still with this mentality of we are slaves and they're powerful and what can they do to us? And we still think like them. We will see from this parasha on how this journey on the desert becomes like a school for Bnei Israel to learn to become independent in our emunah, in Hashem, and without fear. So now we are going to skip a little bit. What happens on the next psukim is how Hashem is performing the miracle of opening the sea. You can read it, and it's, of course, amazing, all the details, but we cannot delve in every pasuk on the parasha. We don't have time in the 1 hour. So see on pasuk 30, on that day Hashem saved Israel from the hand of Egypt, and Israel saw the Egyptians dead on the seashore. Israel saw the great hand that Hashem inflicted upon Egypt, and the people revered Hashem, and they had faith in Hashem and in Moshe, his servant. Like this shiur, this lesson has passed. It had the desired effect. The emunah of Am Israel is growing. They are learning more and more. Vayaminu b'Hashem u'b'Moshe avdo. Because their complaint was, why didn't you leave us in Egypt? Why did you bring us here? We don't want to die here. It would have been better to die in Egypt. You know, Egypt is the place of the graves, of the pantheons and the graves and the mummies. There is better than here in the desert. Who is going to make us a grave here? But now they believe, okay, yes, Hashem is with us. Hashem is so powerful. And also in Moshe they believe. Is this the end of it? Are Bnei Israel, are they going to stay with this state of emunah? You know, Chachamim tell us, when Kriyat Yam Suf happened, Ra'ata shivcha al hayam. Mashelor Ra'u, I don't remember the words, other prophets, like even a servant, the simplest of a girl, of a woman in Israel. You know, sometimes in Chachamim, we find that a woman is considered a little bit simpler than the men because at that time, women were not educated, so they had not so much the ability to perhaps process things that they saw. They were more simpler thinking person. So a woman, Shivcha, a servant, a female servant, when the sea opened, was able to see what prophets were not able to see. That was the level of emunah, of prophecy, of greatness that every Jew that witnessed Kriyat Yamsuf, everybody became like a Navi at that moment. How can't you see? This is Hashem. We are like, it's like you are floating, you are flying. The sea is opening, Hashem makes you cross it. And everybody is in this uplifted feeling of emunah in Hashem. Like the sky is the limit. Ask whoever you want at that moment. Do you believe in Hashem? Do you want to keep all the Torah? Do you want? Yes. That's where they are. Now what we're going to see throughout the parasha, is it easy to stay here? Is it easy to stay here? After you saw, okay, everybody says, no, you know what's happening. If you wouldn't know what's happening, what would we expect after Kriyat Yamsuf, the 10 Makot, all what Hashem showed his greatness? Like if this is the God that I'm after him, I'm going to walk throughout my life with my eyes closed. I can trust him. I can do whatever he asks from me. Like he's so powerful. But it's not easy. And it's very human, and we need to know that. How much we all have our ups and downs, and how difficult it is to stay. That's why, I didn't plan to say this, but I just remembered. Our rabbis always ask themselves, give me the most important pasuk of the Torah. So we know that Rabbi Akiva always brings, Ve'ahavta l'reacha kamocha, love your neighbor as yourself. Another rabbi says, that B'Tselem Elokim bara et Adam, that Hashem created every person with the image of Hashem. But there is a rabbi that says the most important pasuk is the one that speaks, I don't remember it by heart, about, I think, the Korban HaTamid taseh b'boker u'bein ha'arba'im, something like that. That the Korban HaTamid you shall offer daily. Why? Because that Korban represents, you know what that it represents? The daily routine. Every day. We need to feed our emunah in Hashem in a daily basis. I cannot just, wow, I saw, I don't know, what happened in the 6 Days War. I was there and nothing happened to me. My car almost, and I was saved. This is not what sustains our emunah. It's amazing. It's like a high, but we need to maintain that with daily actions and daily mitzvot. Okay, so now, as I said, there is a Shira. I repeat for those that came later. This Shabbat is called Shabbat Shira, the Shabbat of the song. And what happens? After Moshe Rabbeinu himself sees this, Moshe, how do you say, outbursts, you say? No, how do you say? He comes with the singing to Hashem, and this singing includes praise, and the description of what happens is written in a very poetic, with some difficult words in Hebrew, but this is when you read later, you will see. Wait, patience. So it says here that Moshe and the children of Israel chose to sing this song to Hashem. By the way, the translation is already an interpretation, because the translation is, then Moshe sang and the children of Israel this song. That's why our Chachamim try to see who is singing here. How did the children of Israel know what to sing? So Rabbi Eben Ezra, one of our commentators, for example, he says, how did they sing? It was Moshe Rabbeinu singing and Bnei Israel repeating after him. You know, who lived in Israel here? You go in Israel to a hike, and it's very common. We have all these songs that one in the group suddenly starts singing, El Hamayan, and everybody, El Hamayan, Bagdi, Bagdi, Katan, and everybody repeats, Bagdi, Bagdi, Katan. So that's how we can imagine that this singing was performed. Moshe Rabbeinu singing and everybody repeating after him. There will be opinions that say, no, everybody had this Ruach HaKodesh, this level of prophecy at that moment, that they were all singing together and celebrating. Again, this song is an expression of amazing feelings that they have. And for example, look on Pasuk, I shall sing to Hashem, page 377, for he's exalted above the arrogant, having hurled horse with its rider into the sea. The might and vengeance of God was salvation for me. This is my God, and I will build him a sanctuary. Or look at the end, it says here, Hashem is master of war, his name is Hashem. And it ends with Hashem imloch leolam vaed. Look at Pasuk Yud Zayin, Pasuk 17 on page 381. You will bring them and implant them on the mount of your heritage, the foundation of your dwelling place that you, Hashem, have made, the sanctuary, my Lord, that your hands established. Hashem shall reign for all eternity. What are we speaking here? Again, slaves that just left Egypt. What I just read, what are they singing about? It's about the future. About what? I just said the words. We're speaking about the Bet HaMikdash. We're going to build the Bet HaMikdash, and Hashem, you're going to bring your Shekhinah there. Hashem, you're going to be the king forever. This is a nevuah le'acharit hayamim for what we say every day when we say the tefillah, Alenu Leshabeach, ve'aya bayom ha'u yeh Hashem echad u'shmo echad. This is our aspiration, that one day Hashem will be recognized by everybody and he will be the king over all. So we see the level of prophecy that is in this song of Shirat Hayam. And now, as you say, look at Pasuk. By the way, everybody knows the story. I'm not saying it. Bnei Israel crossed, and the Egyptians, when they were in the middle of it, the sea closed on them and they drowned. Now, Pasuk 20, Miriam the prophetess, sister of Aaron, took the drum in her hand, and all the women went forth after her with drums and with dances. Miriam spoke up to them, sing to Hashem, for he is exalted above the arrogant, having hurled the horse with its rider into the sea. So we have spoken many times about this. I just will say it fast. I have a class, actually, it's in YouTube, in my YouTube, if you want to see it. I called it a tambourine for the quarantine. We were in quarantine, and I gave that class for the 7th day of Pesach. Sheviyah Shel Pesach is when this parasha is read, because this is 7 days after they left Egypt. You remember? They left Egypt after Pesach, and this is the 7th day. So now, what is Miriam doing? What is she doing? What did I just read? She took the drum, which is the tambourine, in her hand, and all the women went forth after her with drums and with dances. First, no, tell me something. First thing that we note here. Again, slaves escaping Egypt. They barely had the time to make their bread. What do they have? Tambourines. Why do they have tambourines? Like when you have to pack to leave, escaping your enemies, what would you take with you? I don't know, milk for the baby and diapers and the piece of matzah and water and a change of clothes if they had at all. Tambourine. Like who escapes with a tambourine, with a violin, with a guitar? This is the last thing that you think about. But why did they have tambourines? Why? Okay, so here we see two things. First of all, the role of women in Egypt. As we know, they were always those to bring hope into the hearts of their husbands and their families. The husband didn't want to bring more children. They would say, no, yes, one day Hashem is going to take us out. The husband would come home really very depressed because he had such a difficult day. And she would come and put on him some cream and give him a food. It's okay, honey, it's going to be okay. One day we will come out. Like they really maintained the emunah and the hope. But who was the one that with her role model give them this sense of hope? It was Miriam. And you see here what a real leader is. You know, imagine I start dancing here, I think I'm going to stay dancing alone. But when Miriam starts dancing, everybody dances with her because she was the leader. They knew to follow her. So that's why it says here, Miriam started, she took the drum and And in the moment she has the drum, it's like everybody was already trained. They were taking dancing classes forever in Egypt. Okay, let's start what we practice. And then they start all dancing. And they also sing. Sing to Hashem, for he's exalted above the arrogant, having hurled the horse with its rider into the sea. Sometimes you don't need a long song. The singing and the music and the dancing are doing it all together. Okay, so Baruch Hashem, everybody is happy. Everybody in this high state of emunah, yes. Yes, there are many opinions. There is not too much said about the slavery, how it was. I think that first of all, this was such a long period that for sure there were periods harder than others. Like we know that they had cattle with them, they had some possessions, they come out with them. We know that Aaron goes to Paro. We find here and there information. Some Mefarshim would say that part of the hard work was that they gave for men jobs that women should do and for women jobs that men should do. I suppose they had also slavery going to their homes to clean, to do. We don't have a lot of information, but it would be difficult to think that they were sitting as queens in their homes. But those that went out to build pyramids and to do the real hard physical labor, it seems to be that it was the men. Okay, so now everything was perfect, but we start with the first test. Moshe caused Israel to journey from the Sea of Reeds, and they went out to the wilderness of Shur. They went for a 3-day period in the wilderness, but they did not find water. They came to Marah. Marah in Hebrew means bitter, but they could not drink the waters of Marah because they were bitter. Imagine poisoned waters that you cannot drink. Therefore, they called its name Marah. What happens also at this moment, we can imagine that the water that they were carrying with them has finished. How much water can you carry, right? For how many days can you carry water? A week max. So now they are without water. They came to Marah, but they could not drink the water because they were bitter. Therefore, they called its name Marah. The people complained against Moshe, saying, "What shall we drink?" He cried out to Hashem, and Hashem showed him a tree. He threw it into the water, and the water became sweet. There he established for the nation a decree and ordinance, and there he tested the nation. He said, if you hearken, Hashem is telling, Vayomer, אם שמוע תשמע לקול השם אלוקיך והישר בעיניו תעשה. If you hearken diligently to the voice of Hashem your God, and do what is just in his eyes, והאזנת למצוותיו, give ear to his commandments, ושמרת כל חוקיו, and you observe all his decrees, כל המחלה אשר שמתי במצרים, לא אשים עליך כי אני השם רופאך. Hashem is saying, all the illness, all the sickness, all the plagues that you saw that were happening in Egypt, I will not bring upon you, for I am Hashem, your healer. So what do we see in Marah? The waters are bitter, they cry. It's all okay, it's normal. You are families with children, with elderly people, you don't have water, you cry, I'm thirsty. Okay, as I said, you have a baby, you have a toddler, he's crying for water. What do? You give him water. That's what Hashem is doing. He's telling Moshe to throw this tree, and in a miraculous way also, the waters become sweet. But Hashem is giving them at the same time, it seems that he starts giving them some mitzvot, like a sample of mitzvot. Like he gives them some, I think, Shabbat he gives them to do. Here, I read in the Mefaresh here, he tested them to see whether they would accept and fulfill the commandments he gave them in Marah. If so, they would be worthy to receive the entire Torah. Hashem starts giving them a sample of mitzvot. I heard a shiur from Rabbi Chaim Sabato from Yeshivat Mirkat Moshe, and he said, this is a great teaching for us parents. When your children ask from you, and of course our job as parents is to provide for our children, but as we give them, we need to, at the same time, provide them with guidance, with rules. It cannot be only give, because we know very well what happens to children that only receive. They become very difficult. And as I say, this cute baby that everybody loved, if you don't put some limits and boundaries and guidance, it will become a little monster that nobody will want to get close to that child. Very easy for a child to become kind of mean. Like children are not mean, but it's our responsibility. So here we see the balance. Hashem is giving us water, but he's saying, okay, here, you have a sample, one mitzvah, let's see how you do it. And then he's saying, if you are able to continue and to fulfill this mitzvah, that means that you are going on the right path, and you're going to be able to receive my Torah, but it's what happened later.
They believed to Moshe and God, okay?
Yes.
After that, why they said, why you bring us to Bamidbar, when we have to meet here, we need basar, meat.
Oh, now we still didn't get there.
No, I wanted to know, Moshe Abdo, after this or
exactly, you are exactly saying what we said, that people can be in this level of emunah and then fail and then lose it. It doesn't stay with them. That's what we're seeing in our parasha. Now, let's go to, I'm going to skip a little bit. Oh, so they got the mitzvot of the thing. Then it says here on Perek 16, again, we're on page 383, the next step, like we're going to see that Bnei Israel are walking in the desert and Hashem tells them where to stop. How do they know where to stop? It's very simple. Their navigation system stops, so they have to stop. So they stopped in Manah, there was no water. Now they stopped in a place called Elim. They arrived at Elim, I'm reading Pasuk 27, where there were 12 springs of water and 70 date palms. They encamped there by the water. It's like an oasis. It's a beautiful place. I was thinking to myself when I was reading this really represents our life. How our life is full with different stations. And some stations taste a little bit bitter. And some stations are with water and dates and trees. And the challenge is to know to go through them and to take the emunah in Hashem with us. And this is what is going to help us go through life. Nobody, and if somebody in this room is, please raise your hand. Nobody can say, my life has always been with stops like Elim, with water and dates and everything is easy and everything is good. Nobody can say that. All of us have challenges. All of us have some stops that taste really bitter, but we need to know that this is part of what Hashem wants from us. And the emunah on Him is going to help us go through it. We cannot be ma'aminim b'nei ma'aminim when everything is perfect. And if it's not perfect, why Hashem? And some people say, how can I believe in Hashem if this happens? Our emunah in Hashem doesn't have to be depending on how things go for me. You know, this is like an axioma. Hashem is there. What happens to us? Okay, sometimes, as we saw, is a test. Hashem is testing us. Like imagine when we saw that we had the Egyptians behind us. What is this? We didn't realize that Hashem had a good plan for us. It was better. And throughout, not only the miracle that they drawn, we become stronger. Because, oh, I was able to go through this. I was able to go through this test with Nisayon. How am I after that? Am I stronger? Am I a better person? This is what has to stay with us. Okay, and now, after they live there, the Torah is careful to tell us the date. They journeyed from Elim, and the entire assembly of the children of Israel arrived at the wilderness of Sin, which is between Elim and Sinai, on the 15th day of the second month from their departure from the land of Israel. How long has passed? Huh? Yeah, a month. A month. 15th day of the second month. Which one is the first month? We saw last week. Nisan. When is Pesach? 15 stand. Now we are on the 15th day of the second month from their departure from the land of Egypt. The entire assembly of the children of Israel complained against Moshe and Aaron in the wilderness. Those people that said, "Vayaminu b'Hashem v'Moshe avdo," those that believed in Hashem and Moshe, but now they're complaining. We're 1 month walking, and the matzah perhaps is done, and the water is done. So now what do they say? Then the children of Israel said to them, "If only we had died by the hand of Hashem in the land of Egypt." Do you see their state of mind? They're slaves. They don't only complain. When they complain, what is the alternative that they bring as a preferred one? We better died. We should have died. If only we had died by the hand of Hashem in the land of Egypt, as we sat by the pot of meat, when we ate bread to satiety, for you have taken us out to the wilderness to kill this entire congregation by famine. Look at these slaves, that they were having their children killed, that they were working, that they were crying for their lives. Now they say, "Oh, we remember being in Egypt and eating al-sira basar, the choresh with the meat and the poroch." I don't know exactly what food they had there. You know, it's called selective memory. Selective memory, and it happened to all of us. When you go through challenges, you are going to remember your past with so pink glasses. Sometimes I speak with a girl that is having some challenges on dating, and then she says, I remember that boy, and he was bad for her, and she didn't have a good experience. But now she remembers, it was amazing. He took me for coffee. You understand? When we see the challenge in front of my eyes, we see the past with a much better view of what it usually is. There is I remember my husband always told us that his grandmother, Zichrona Livracha, her name was Suchie. She lived in Syria. She's from Syria. She was. And in the times that she was a child, it was times of war, and they really went through deprivation. They were poor, all of them. So she once told them that this family, that they were rich, and they used to have meat in their home. And sometimes there was smell from outside the house of the meat that they eat. So she says that many people used to take their pita, their bread, and go and eat it under the house of this wealthy person, because then your bread would taste like the meat. So imagine in the future they would say, "Oh, we remember the meat that we had in Syria." So it's not very clear if the Jews had meat. It could be that some of them had, or it could be that they're just fantasizing with a better past of what it was. And then they say here, because for you have taken us out to this wilderness to kill this entire congregation by famine. Okay, they're hungry. They're hungry. Hunger really makes you to be desperate. Hashem said to Moshe, is Hashem upset at Am Israel? No, still treating them as a baby that is hungry. I shall rain down for you food from heaven. Let the people go out and pick each day's portion on its day, so that I can test them whether they will follow my teaching or not. And it shall be that on the 6th day, when they prepare what they bring, it will be double what they pick every day. So now Hashem is going to give them the man and also meat. I don't have the time, so I'm not going to go into the meat. I just want to go a little bit with you about what is the man. Okay? Page 387. I'm skipping the slab part. It was toward evening that the quail ascended. Sorry, no, I'm skipping. Pasuk 15. The children of Israel saw and said to one another, "It's food," for they did not know what it was. Moshe said to them, "This is the food that Hashem has given you for eating. This is the thing that Hashem has commanded. Gather from man according to what he eats, an omer per person, according to the number of your people, everyone according to whoever is in his tent shall you take. So imagine we're a family of 8. We have to take how much? 8 omers. Omers is an amount that would be enough for a person to be satiated during the day. So Hashem is saying to take whatever you need every day. So the children of Israel did so, and they gathered. Whoever took more and whoever took less. Some people say, I'm here, it's on sale. Let me take more, took more. And some people said, if it's here now, I can come tomorrow as well, took less. They measured in an omer, and whoever took more had nothing extra, and whoever took less was not lacking. Everyone according to what he eats that they got. The first miracle, doesn't matter what you take. I'm taking you to take an omer. Even if you don't take an omer, you are going to have an omer. If I decided for you that this is your parnasa, and you decide that you are not going to have any family time, and you're going to kill yourself, and you're going to both parents work like crazy and neglect your children because you want to have more, at the end of the day, you're going to have what I, Hashem, decided for you to have. What you need to have to live. This is a big lesson. Take whatever you need to live. So the second, direction of Moshe. Moshe said to them, no man may live over from it until morning, but they did not obey Moshe. People left over from it until morning. Why would you leave it till morning? Why would you leave? If Moshe is telling, okay, what you take, enjoy. Don't keep for tomorrow. Why is Moshe telling them that? Exactly. Hashem is going to send you tomorrow. So some people did not listen. And what happened to it? People left over from it until morning, and it became infested with worms, and it stank. And Moshe became angry with them. They gathered it morning by morning, every man according to what he eats. And when the sun grew hot, it melted. It happened on the 6th day that they gathered a double portion of food, 2 omers for each. And all the princes of the assembly came and told Moshe, he said to them, this is what Hashem had spoken. Tomorrow is a rest day. They already got the Shabbat in Marah. But here they are getting again the teaching of what is Shabbat. Tomorrow is a rest day, a holy Shabbat to Hashem. Bake what you wish to bake and cook what you wish to cook, and whatever is left over, put away for yourself as a safekeeping until the morning. One day Hashem does want you to keep, actually. Hashem wants you to have extra for tomorrow, because tomorrow is not going to be. So they put it away until morning as Moshe had commanded. It did not stink this time, and there was no infestation in it. Moshe said, eat it today, for today is Shabbat for Hashem. Today you shall not find it in the field. 6 days shall you gather it, but the 7th day is a Shabbat. On it there will be none. It happened on the 7th day that some of the people, they say, let's go out. They didn't believe. No, it cannot be. On Sunday there was, Monday there was, Tuesday there was, Thursday there was. For sure it's going to be. Like it's something natural. It became part of the view, same way the sun is coming out every day. But they come on Shabbat out, and they did not find. So Hashem said to Moshe, how long will you refuse to observe my commandments and my teachings? See that Hashem has given you the Shabbat. That is why he gives you on the 6th day a 2-day portion of bread. Let every man remain in his place. Let no man leave his place on the 7th day. The people rested on the 7th day. There is much more to say about this, but just to finish the shiur, and we see again how HaKadosh Baruch Hu, through the act of giving to us, of providing to us, is at the same time educating us, teaching us. There are so many lessons in this man, in this food. The first one is believing in Hashem, that Hashem is the one that provides, that Hashem has the capacity, the ability to provide enough for each family. Also the importance of Shabbat. You know how was for some people to keep Shabbat. In the community, Baruch Hashem, we take it for granted. We have an amazing, I don't have to call it behavior or I don't know how to call it, amazing conduct of the whole community that nobody works on Shabbat. We think it's normal. And whoever travels, who is not Shomer Shabbat. You know what it is not to work on Shabbat? When you can do perhaps on Shabbat much more of other days because others are not working. You know, some people, Shabbat, at the beginning of coming to America, many immigrants from Europe, that was their biggest challenge. They wouldn't find a job that unless they worked on Shabbat. And some of them, they just couldn't maintain that. But others did, and Baruch Hashem, later they were, if you would give them a movie then of what America is today with Shabbat, what would they think? What else do we learn from the man? What other lessons do you see there? With what I read, again, take exactly for everyone. Don't keep for tomorrow. Keep for Shabbat. So we say the Shabbat, Emunah in Hashem. What else? Not to be greedy. Sometimes enjoy what you have. You don't live just to acquire, to have more. You know, if you do you know people that say, I have enough. I'm going to sit with my children more. I'm going to spend more time at home. Let's study more Torah. That would be ideal. That would be amazing. Okay, we see how Hashem is teaching his people. And just to finish, a beautiful idea for me, it was totally new, that Rabbi Sabato said on his shiur. He says, I always had a problem, says Rabbi Sabato. There is a midrash about the man, I'm sure everybody knows it, that everybody that ate the man had what taste? What taste everybody had? Whatever they wanted, right? How does the Ganenet say to the children? If you want ice cream, the man is like ice cream. If you want pizza, the man is like pizza. If you want steak, the man is like it. So he said, I had a problem with that. Like, how can it happen? And then Rabbi Sabato says, then I understood. And he says, this is exactly what Hashem is trying to teach us to achieve throughout the man. The man is something that happens in a daily way, routine. Perhaps every day or every month you get your salary and you have what you have and you can afford whatever you can afford and the food that is on the table and the clothing that you have. Perhaps the greatness of the refinement of your character is if you can achieve it, that you feel every day happy and excited with what you have. That's what it means. Today is like ice cream, because I'm so happy to spend my vacation with my children, doing whatever we can do. And I'm not thinking about, oh, they travel to Mexico. Social media is not really helping. Because instead of focusing on my daily man and enjoying it and finding an amazing taste every day, I'm thinking about what I don't have. Shabbat Shalom, there is so much more to continue learning.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.